So hello from Green-Mopeds. So today we thought we'd give you a side-by-side comparison of the current and future Super Soco Vmoto CPx's. So we have the one that probably everyone's aware of, which is the 60 volt, 56 mile an hour CPx. Then we have the new 74 volt based 56 mile an hour CPx and the CPx Pro, which is also 60 volt but 8 kilowatts. So we'll go around them and just highlight some of the differences, and hopefully that will help you in your research. So let's get to it. Okay, so as I said, on the right hand side we have the new CPx Pro, which is 8 kilowatts, 65 miles an hour, 60 volt, 45 ampere based bike. We then have the new 74 volt based CPx, which is essentially replacing the one that has been around for years with Getir and the like, which is the 5 kilowatt 60 volt based bike. So the main thing to obviously, I guess, compare are these two here, because one is replacing the other, but it's probably worth noting what the CPx Pro is all about as well. So let's just start at the beginning with power. So 8 kilowatts max, this one, CPx Pro. So that is about 11 horsepower. Then we've got these two, although there is, according to the spec, a slight difference between the new 74 volt based one in the middle, which is 5.4 kilowatts max. This is all max power we're talking about here. And then we've got the original 5 kilowatt based CPx. Okay, so as you can appreciate, if you've got 8 kilowatts versus 5, you're talking about, what, 60 odd % more power. But one of the first interesting things to talk about there is the batteries between the CPx Pro and the standard CPx are the same, other than a battery label, as far as I can tell. So what does that mean? Essentially, this is mostly going to be about the batteries and the power and range and things like that, because that's always what people want to know. But essentially, if you've got the same batteries, as in the same between CPx and the CPx Pro, but you've got 66% more potential power, then of course you're going to take a hit on range. The CPx has often been quoted as having an 80 mile range, so let's say that that is true. I mean, you can get 80 miles out of it if you're driving it in London, for example, but not flat out. It's actually quite difficult to work out the true range, but you can work out the worst case range. And by the worst case range, what I mean is if you were running the bike flat out, as in at 8 kilowatts, 65 miles an hour, at 5 kilowatts, 56 miles an hour, if you were doing that, you could then work out the worst case range. And that will give you quite a good way of comparing the potential of these bikes. Okay, so the way to work it out is relatively simple. What you do is you take the maximum power and you basically do some maths on the battery capacity. Okay, so as we've said before, the battery capacities on these bikes are essentially done by working out the volts times the amps. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see that. This is one of the differences between the CPx and the CPx Pro. They're both 60 volt, 45 ampere, but these have an orange label. Connectors are still the same, everything's still the same. Internally they might be different, but they look the same, probably interchangeable. Haven't tried it, but I can imagine they are. And the charger is the 15 amp charger, which is the same between CPx Pro and the CPx, not the new one. Okay, so if you do the maths on the battery, what you get is 5.4 kilowatt hours for two batteries between the CPx Pro and the CPx. Okay, so then what you do is you actually do some maths and you say, right, if I was using up that 5.4 kilowatt hours of battery at its maximum power, as in 8 kilowatts going 65 miles an hour, how much could I actually run these batteries for before they go flat? And in the CPx Pro's case, you will get 40 minutes worth of flat out 65 miles an hour performance. Okay, whereas on the CPx, the old one, you actually get 64 minutes of flat out absolute power at 56 miles an hour. Now, of course, this is all essentially theoretical, because once you get to your full speed, you might not be going that you might not be consuming that amount of power. But this is just to work out the sort of comparison between the two. So if you do that on all of them, you get that you can run this bike with its batteries at 40 minutes. Do the maths with the speed and everything like that, and you get 43 miles of range. So that is essentially your worst case. If you don't get 43 miles out of this bike, there's something wrong. Okay, because that is running it flat out for the 40 minutes that those batteries will give you, you get 43 miles. On the CPx, if you did the same maths, you get 64 minutes worth of use, so 1 hour, 4 minutes, essentially, and that gives you 60 miles. So again, the worst case scenario on the CPx is 60 miles, and hence, to say 80 is probably right, because you're not running this bike flat out, you're not running it at 56 miles an hour. So the interesting one is the new one. So this is 74 volt based, and this is one of the big differences between what you get with the new CPx 74 volt and the old one. Look at these batteries, totally different design. One of the big things about the CPx was that the connectors, these things here, these pins used to go. So they used to arc between the connector and the battery top, and you had to replace them. A common issue with CPXs. With this, there is pretty much no way that's going to happen. I mean, you can hardly get the things out, as I can now show. Okay, so they are rock solid in there. Okay, so that has dealt with a lot of the problems of the old bike. But you also see that they put in these straps and to secure the batteries more securely. Okay, also note the new seat design, red threading around it versus the current one. Okay, so those batteries are 74 volt based. Okay, so again, if you look at the maths on that, instead of 5.4 kilowatt hours of total capacity between these two on the outside, you've actually got now 6.6 kilowatt hours of battery capacity. Okay, so that's 22% more battery capacity. But you've also given it half a horsepower more power. You've got 5.4 kilowatts. So, but again, do the maths, worst case scenario, you will get 73 minutes out of the new 74 volt base. So it was 64 minutes out of this one, 74 minutes out of that one. And again, if you do the maths on the 56 mile an hour, consuming that battery at its full speed, you get 68 miles. So this was 60 miles, this is 68 miles. So on paper, we can say that the new CPx 74 volt has got the most range out of all of these. It's got 25 miles range more than that one, obviously slower speed, and it's got 8 miles more range than that one. Okay, so on paper, the new CPx is going to go further. Okay, so let's talk about charging. So this is the charger on the CPx Pro and the old CPx. It's 70 volt, 15 amp hour. That gives an output of about 1 kilowatt. Okay, this one is different. Obviously, it's got the new connector, but here you can see, hopefully you can see that, it's only 10 amp, but it goes up to 82 volt. Okay, so 82 volt times 10 is obviously 820 watt hours. So whichever way you look at it, the battery charging capacity of the new CPx has gone down by about 200 watt hours. So if you think that this one takes 3.5 hours per battery, if it had the same charger, it would take 22% longer because it's got 22% capacity. But they've also decreased the output of the charger. So this is the standard charger that comes with the bike. There will be a faster charger coming, which will essentially, I guess, well, they're talking about making this charging 80% in an hour. Okay, but with this bike, as it currently stands, the charging time of these batteries must go down because it's got 22% capacity and it's got about 20% less charger capacity too. So if you think about that, it can't be 3.5 hours. It's got to be more like 4.5 hours. Okay, so don't expect this CPX new one to charge in 3.5 hours because it just won't. Okay. Right, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the Pro anymore. There's separate reviews on that. But to sort of show you differences between these two, because these are still kicking around. I mean, this is our last one. It's for sale if anyone wants it. But the main difference is now is that this CPx 74 volt has got certain things improved upon it. So, for example, it has got a new motor. So you can tell that because this has got cooling fans on it, whereas the old one doesn't. Okay, it's just like that. As I said, on the spec, it also says it's 5.4 kilowatts of maximum power versus 5 kilowatts. So that's about half a half a horsepower more rather. One of the differences here, you see indicators and light. Here you see indicators built into the light. So they've changed the back end portion. Not too sure why they needed to, other than it looks better. There was nothing wrong with this design, other than I guess it stuck out a bit, but that's that. We talked about the seat being different with the stitching, but the main differences are sort of around here. So new clusters on both sides. So these are the original clusters. This is your kill switch, your mode selector, reverse, indicators, main beam and horn. On here, you've got, so rather than go 1, 2, 3 on a flick switch, you've now got plus and minus. In some respects, I would say the old style is better, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Kill switch, master cylinders. Dash is the same essentially, as you can see here. No reason for it to change. The only differences between the dashes are on the Pro, you've got that ABS and traction control setting. So dash is the same. But on the left-hand cluster, you've got indicators that at last make noise and push to cancel, which was something that I've always highlighted on these bikes, that silent indicators and you have to center it with gloves on often ends up with you either forgetting to do it entirely because you don't hear them, or you overcompensate and push it back the other way. Okay, so that's that. So silent indicators, good job. You've also got a new fob and a new alarm, and you can tell that if you turn the bike on. If you do that on this one, you might not notice the difference, but it is different. And the new fob, so obviously remote start is still there and things like that. Okay, so the main differences of these bikes are essentially all around the batteries and the charging time. From a price perspective, the old CPx, if you remember when it first came out, it was $4,999 for a dual battery bike. It is now $2,799 for this one, if you wanted this specific one, and there are no more. You might find some more, but there are no more available to order from Vmoto. If you want this one with the 74-volt battery, and obviously one other thing to say is the higher the voltage, the better acceleration. So comparing these two, this one should outpace this one, even though it's only got half a horsepower more anyway. The fact it's 74 volt should mean that the new one will outpace the old one. It's only also in black, by the way. And as I said, this is the last one, so it's in silver. So 2,799 now for the old CPX, 3,299 for the new one, and 3,999 for the Pro. So it's sort of based priced competitively between the two. I think it's good improvements that they've done. It is on the grant for as long as that grant continues. So other than a slight decrease in charging time, which, as I said, they will rectify with a new charger that's coming out, it's definitely an improvement. Simply because, as I said right at the beginning, range. If range is what you need, if you're a delivery guy or you've got long commutes, then by far this new CPX will outpace, in a range perspective, all of them. Okay, so hopefully you found that useful. If you have any more questions or would like a test ride, then please feel free to contact us. Please follow us on YouTube, on our Green-Mopeds channel, and all the other ways that we communicate. And thanks very much.